Hi everyone, my name's MadMatt Lugos and welcome back to Everybody's Gone to the Rapture. So last time we saw how it all ended for Lizzie and then finally how it ended for Stephen. Very grim ending for Stephen really. He died at his own hand. Now we're finally getting to see what is going to happen or has happened to Kate. We know enough about Kate, but we obviously don't feel too close to her. You know, we've seen her in some of the sections, but personally, I don't feel like we've had much of an insight into her character the same way we've had with Stephen and most of the other characters. We've been kind of quite intimate with all their stories. So I guess we're going to go into a few different towers or even observatories. Let's start off with Tower 1 for the sake of uniformity. I nearly there was a film I nearly quoted then. Unanimity. The Christian Bale film.
On the plane, Stephen leaned across me and pointed out of the window. "Down there," he said. "That's home." But all I saw were patches of color. I don't think until this moment that I understood that one could contain the other so completely.
There's the butterfly again. So maybe it is to do with the butterfly effect. That's like two different galaxies or universes or timelines overlapping on one another, right? And crossing in the middle. God, I didn't notice all the writing. Equations. Yeah, like a black hole tunnel effect, perhaps. I mean, philosophically, I've never really bought into multiple dimension things. I kind of believe in determinism, like hard determinism, Daniel Dennett and stuff. So, a lot of the alternate realities and the illusion of choice stuff always, and I always thought it was a bit woolly, but I know that there are more physical and, you know, mathematical based explanations for, you know, multiple realities and timelines and stuff, but I'm not exactly familiar with that. Okay, we've got a bunch of typewriters, right? Or printers, fax machines. Something that prints anyway, and they're all printing off these butterflies. Yeah, butterfly effect, of course. Been playing Metro for too long. I keep looking at these and thinking I can open them to loot.
I watched a butterfly dancing in a strip of sunlight. All of its life contained in a single day. The blink of an eye between the ebb of the darkening tide. Lying there with the pattern curled around me, I saw the inevitability. The necessity of presence born from absence. The constant unfolding.
Yeah, presence born from absence. That's I was talking. I think I got cut off by a cutscene, but yeah, I used to swear to a buddy of mine that the butterfly effect, that Ashton Kutcher film, was actually quite good, and I tried to rewatch it a few months ago, and it's just not. I used to think that was a really good film for the longest time. I don't mind the concept, but you know, in terms of the acting and some of the stuff that happens, it's really bad. Your brain remembers things more fondly sometimes, right? Like sometimes your brain, it kind of remembers things in standard definition, I like to say. You know, it doesn't include all the detail. Which is why your memories of stuff can often seem better, because your brain kind of pushes away. It doesn't always include all the details. So you only remember the things that you enjoyed. And when you actually, if it's something you can actually experience again, sometimes it doesn't quite live up to the memory. Is this Tower 3? Yep. Got another tape player. What have we got here? Pictures of all the light sources. Huh. Orion's Belt. Andromeda. Was there another tape player? Yeah.
I know it didn't mean to hurt any of them. I try and explain why Lizzie tried to leave with her child and why it was wrong to stop her. I try and explain that much of what it did was wrong. It shows me Stephen and Lizzie together. And I'm happy for them. Frank walks his fields with Mary. Wendy and Edward nest together in the orchards of their love. Jeremy lies at peace with his God at last. All of them are happy because they are together. I understand it better now. It is a collector of time. Of butterflies.
The butterfly collector. It's a collector of time. It's not unifying everybody, right? I mean... Can't open that. Okay, so we've got memories of all the bits we've seen in the game. So there's Jeremy. It's just it being followed. That Frank. Right, let's move on to Tower 4. Maybe the light has sensed the pain inside the humans, and maybe it thinks that it's mistaken the pain for like a desire to cease, and that, you know, that a desire to end or die or be with lost loved ones or not struggle anymore, and maybe the light thinks it's giving the people what they want, right? Because they're actually just unhappy with parts of their lives. Maybe the light doesn't see death, the finality in death, in the way that the humans do, so it thinks it's moving them to a state that they'll be happier in.
I watched the pattern lean in and time slow to almost nothing. I saw the flame leap from Stephen's hand and the moment hang in the air forever. I watched his face, and in the last second, I almost believe he saw me. He wasn't frightened or angry. I remember his expression, just like I remember it from the first time, early that morning when he woke and, still half sleeping, said, "God, I love you." And I loved him as he entered the fire. And I let him go, knowing I wasn't ready to join him. We have held time to ourselves here in this place. Held the light to the ground because we were afraid of the coming dark. But now we understand that to cling to the light is not living. I've spent my life watching the illumination from a million dead stars reaching for me without grasping this meaning. The light we cast transcends our death. The pattern made by our living creates a bridge across the dark.
Okay, so we're going with transcendence. But death isn't the end. And the lights perhaps relieving everyone of their fear of death, of their loneliness. Taking them to a place beyond. There's the Aurora Borealis. It's so difficult for me to say Aurora Borealis without that episode of The Simpsons coming into my mind every time. Principal Skinner. Stop it, Matt. I won't ruin the moment. This one's a bit weird. It's TVs, old TVs. Tower 5. I wish I knew what Valis meant. Sounds Latin.
It reaches out from the shadow of the tower, across the observatory, over the valley, and consumes the world. Everything is light now. Everything has come to rest. The world is scored by the traces we carved into it. Our presence is everywhere, the bridge joining our stories. This world existed before we came to it, and it will continue without us. In the empty fields and houses, our traces radiate, and others will come to dance in the light we cast. We can slip away gently, unafraid, knowing that everything will continue.
I mean, that is one way of looking at death, right? As long as you've had kids, I suppose. Right, hang on. I need to... What is the meaning of Valis? Let me just check. Valis meaning. Vast active living intelligence system. Valis is a 1981 science fiction novel by Philip K. Dick. It's one book of a 3-part series. The title is an acronym for Vast Active Living Intelligence System. Okay, Philip K. Dick, got ya. Alright. Philip K. Dick, we're in the realm of the supernatural then. If we're dealing with something that's a passive reference to Philip K. Dick. Great. There's nothing wrong with that, I'm just saying. I was a bit gutted that Man in the High Castle won't have another series, right? I was enjoying that. Tower 6. Okay, I can't activate that. Oh my.
The end is coming now. I'm not afraid. We have each other. We lived apart from them. We understand now our failure to touch, to belong. But it doesn't matter anymore. Everybody is gone, and we will join them. We are born apart, driftwood on the banks of an endless dark ocean, and we will be carried away by the swell soon enough. But in between, in the single day of living, that dancing in a strip of sunlight, we can find what we miss. The love that makes us whole. The imminence. Everybody found their other. This pattern is mine.
Wow. What a great game, guys. Well, extremely unique and just thoroughly absorbing experience, right? I'm just going to keep my mouth shut while the music plays. Sorry. Right. Credits going on for longer than I was anticipating. But I will not skip. Does that translate to something? Alright guys, that brings us to the end. Yeah, very thoroughly unique experience. I don't think I've had many gaming experiences quite like that, you know. Just in terms of exploring and stuff, it felt a little similar to The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, but not in terms of the story and the themes. Yeah, I mean the Philip K. Dick reference kind of roots this in not psychedelic, but yeah, I've forgotten the word that I used before to describe it, but the idea of, like, you know, of ascending of life, supernatural. There you go. You know, which isn't always my kind of sci-fi, but I really enjoyed it here, and like I said in one of the other episodes, like the pairing of the human story with the sci-fi element still being prominent, but kind of being in the background for large portions, and then coming to the forefront strongly at the end. But you know, the human connections and learning about their relationships, and you know, the mistakes people have made, and their troubles and their struggles and the problems they were having, and their sadness, their happiness, their memories, loved ones they'd lost. You know, that's still at the heart of the story, and I think it's at the heart of most good stories. Even if it's a stories that's deeply rooted in science fiction, in supernatural, in anything like that. And I think he executed that really well. You know, we had a real colourful cast of characters. You know, all across the village. I would have liked to have gotten to know a bit more about Kate, you know, throughout the story, rather than just kind of getting thrown. No, well, I mean, we did have the radio stuff that we got from her was kind of exclusively about the phenomenon. But I understand that we're in Stephen's hometown, so like the peripheral storytelling and dynamic storytelling with some of the non-essential memories was more to do with the then and there. So, you know, I can't really complain about that. But yeah, fabulous music. I will be listening to some of this music in my spare time. You know, it was just a really unique experience. I've had a good number of thoroughly unique experiences on the channel. You know, this goes up there. You know, I think Death Stranding was a thoroughly unique experience. Nier Automata, What Remains of Edith Finch, you know, all for various different reasons, but thoroughly unique experiences, and you know, like real testimony to the kind of unique storytelling experiences you can have in games that you can't necessarily get anywhere else because of the player agency that you have. And in games like this, these kind of I still hate the term walking simulator just because it sounds so patronizing, but in these more ambient games that are less about destruction and active gameplay, and more just about unraveling a story at your own pace. Yeah, I mean, I think that some of the emotional moments weren't quite as impactful as some other experiences. Didn't quite have that, but I don't think it was really going for that. It had a very British sensibility to it, you know, and that kind of understated, melancholy under the surface kind of British feeling about it, which I really loved. You know, I'm playing this mid-November, you know, at the end of autumn, and you know, I'm just kind of in the mood for this kind of experience. It felt like I'm playing this at the right time, and yeah, what a really good experience. The music was fabulous. The voice acting was of a very high caliber. You know, I recognised so many voice actors. We had Marlene, we had several Witcher 3 voice actors. Yeah, so really well executed. It was gorgeous as well. You know, I was worried I wasn't going to be able to play it, or I was going to have to get it on PS4 because I couldn't get it running smoothly at all. It would, like, when there was a big draw distance, the frame rate would just drop from like 60 plus to like 25. Really weird. So I locked it at 30, and that seemed to make it nice and smooth. But yeah, you know, character wise, I liked everyone. You know, Stephen was kind of like that little brat almost, you know, who'd kind of had everyone doting on him his whole life, and he kind of met his match with Kate, and he kind of squandered that a little bit. You know, Wendy was like his mum, the bossy boots, you know, boisterous, controlling, but you know, still had the memory of her dear Eddie, you know, in the back of her mind. Frank, you know, a bit more relatable, I suppose, you know, the kind of ground level character, had tragedy in his life, but had tried to forget it and really regretted the way he hadn't been there for Mary. But that one kind of hit me quite a bit because you felt real sorrow in his final moments, right? And Lizzie, you know, with a marriage, stuck in a marriage, but she still recognised her feelings for Robert, which I thought was was good writing, you know, not dealing in absolutes. I hate it when when stories deal in absolutes like that, you know, she loved Stephen, and but she still loved Robert, and you know, recognised that the accident that they'd been in, or however long ago it was, you know, it had changed him somewhat, or it, you know, he turned to the bottle. We didn't quite get any, unless I missed some memories of with the Reese and Rachel thing. We kind of got hints at that, but I'm not too sure. And Kate herself, you know, an outsider, someone who was, you know, in love with her work but not necessarily in love with the place. You know, it touched on some kind of mild political elements, although this, you know, this is set in the 80s, but you know, about an outsider coming in, maybe the kind of it feeling like a bit of a backwards town. You know, everyone knows everyone, and they're not fond of outsiders or foreigners or whatever or whoever, you know. But you know, it was done subtly. You know, it wasn't blown out of proportion. You know, it felt kind of felt relevant, felt not relevant, felt right for the context, is what I mean. So yeah, I think that's all the thoughts that I've got, and everybody's gone to the Rapture, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Oh, actually, scratch that. No, I just wanted to talk. Let's talk more philosophically for a second, actually, about the whole life after death notion, I guess. Because I mean, I've always thoroughly believed that, you know, the notion of an afterlife is a byproduct of the fear of death, and its presence in religion is to, I don't want to say con or coax, but yeah, to kind of coax people into living their life a bit less selfishly, because, you know, if you're so worried about death, you'll try and fulfill your more selfish desires or selfish, just might be a bit more selfish in the way you live your life, because it's your only life, and you won't try and be altruistic and all that kind of good stuff. But if you have an afterlife to look forward to, and there are certain rules that are set forth and all that kind of stuff, I always felt like all that kind of stuff stems from the fear of death. And maybe I've read some Philip K. Dick, but I haven't read that particular book that the Valis that has probably come from. It must be a reference to that. So that is kind of a more supernatural element. Well, I don't know what you'd call it, whether it's just the next life or ascension or the next state. I'm not sure. And whether the light that they came in contact with was enlightening people, whether they felt any pain, you know, I don't know. I guess it's supposed to be vague. That's what sometimes I really don't like about more supernatural stuff. Or I always disliked, when we were doing philosophy of mind at university, I always disliked those kinds of explanations where it was just an exploration of the unknown, is the way it was always kind of phrased. Maybe that means I'm just a bit more of a cynic, I don't know. But yeah, I suppose that's an interesting thing to leave it on. I can't really gather my thoughts properly at the minute now. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. Everybody's gone to the Rapture, guys. A great experience, like a 6-7 hour experience. Let me know your thoughts. What did you think of the story, the characters, the ending, the music, the plot, the sci-fi elements, the supernatural elements? Let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Leave me a thumbs up if you did. Just remember, everybody, never trust an uncrate. I'll see you in the next one.